Hello everybody and welcome to this week's community stream. I'm Ikibu, the community manager for World of Warplanes EU, and today I'm going to be doing a stream on the new American Fortress Bombers and the new Japanese Heavies. I hope to do some guides and some reviews, help people out with some of the missions, etc. But otherwise we're just going to jump straight into some gameplay, have a look around the hangar, the aircraft and the way you can equip it, etc. I'm going to warn people now, I am ill, so I'm going to be very sniffly and coughy and quiet and doing a lot of ums and ahs. So let me just switch the scene now. And the button didn't work. There we go. And we're good to go. So hello to everybody in Facebook and Twitch. I know we're live on YouTube as well, but I can't see the stream chat for just now. Apologies for the delay. We had a couple of technical difficulties that needed to be sorted out and everything get done. Hello Rune, Tadeus, Stefan, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, NGOC, Jifko, Book, Rune, it's nice to see some familiar faces. Would you like me to start with the Japanese Heavies first, or would you like me to start with, of course, probably people's favourite, which is the American Fortress Bombers first? And just let people catch up on there. Twitch chat is being suspiciously quiet for now, so I'll just double check that. Oh no, there we go. I just saw somebody type something, and I will announce the stream on Discord for everybody to see, so we can all see what's up. And then once we've done that, we should all be going to good on there. Hello Norse. Hello Too Cold. How are you doing? Okay, so the request is for the bombers now. I'm going to take a drink first because otherwise I am going to end up coughing soon. So, the American bombers that have been released have a new bombing mechanic in there. They are designed more for carpet bombing than traditional bombing that we've had in the game so far. One of the first things that you can earn through the event is the B-17D Flying Fortress. Iconic and famous. I'll go through the upgrades first. You have your standard 4 engines. I'll wait until the stock's loaded. That you can upgrade twice. Fairly chunky airframe that does provide a small amount of hit point increase from the stock one. The rear gunner change will add a little bit of DPS, but the main thing that you're going to want to try and decide between when you first start the aircraft is whether you want a loadout of 8 500-pound bombs or whether you want a loadout of 16 500-pound bombs, and whether you want to have just a shorter reload or whether you want to go all out. Now, the reason I've said that you've got to think very carefully about this is because if you take the 8 bomb loadout to begin with, your resupply time is 60 seconds. It's not too bad. It's roughly about the time you take between to get between sectors. Now, if you take the 16 bomb loadout though, your reload time goes up to 80 seconds, granted, but as you can see, the cumulative damage that you can put out is absolutely phenomenal. But we're going to go back into specialist mode just because I have put my equipment and my modules that I suggest that you take in the consumables there. I'm just going to catch up on chat again there, so I'll play the B-17 first, but before that, I've chosen reinforced airframe just because I believe something this size is going to need more and more hit points. Alternative to this, you could take the resistance to critical damage on your wings and your tail. Along with this, I've taken resistance to damage on the engines. Now, yes, you've got 4 engines, but this is a heavy plane. You're going to need as much horsepower as you can to keep the thing in the air and keep it going. As well as that, now this is where it's a debate. I'm going to try the turret armor protection to try and keep my gunners alive for longer, especially in this aircraft where they're kind of poking out everywhere. But personally, I prefer aiming speed in automatic mode. The reason for this is because if you're in manual mode, that's great, but Fortress Bombers rear gunners can fire at more than one target at a time. That means no matter what you're firing at, you will probably have some gunners firing at a different target in automatic mode. So it pays to kind of reduce your aiming time to increase that damage. And the next one is the reload time of the bombs. Now, A lot of people will go with accuracy, but I suggest reload time, and I'll show you why once we're in the game. Accuracy is not your biggest problem in this aircraft at all. Then, of course, fire extinguisher, because nobody likes your plane dying of fire very quickly. Engine pneumatic restarter, so as you can keep your plane in the air. And then the mixture control to actually negate some of the speed reduction that you get from these pieces of equipment. For crew skills, first thing you should have on any bomber, demolition expert, then protection expert, and then I would actually go with one of these two because you're not going to be maneuvering that much anyway. For your rear gunner skill, I would actually go with defensive fire, and if you can afford it, having extra crit is nice, but having a reduction on your aiming time is really going to pay off as well. One thing you do have, if you earn this through the event with the missions, is this nice little special camo. So you can see there what it looks like, white and red. It is nice, but here is the summer. Pretty basic, and right now with our camouflage changes, I do suggest that you take this these extra seasonal camouflages, just because extra reduction on AA fire is really important. This is one of my favorite color schemes. If you want the universal paint scheme, this is also pretty nice. It's very basic, but I find iconic and historical. So this one, and then nose art, I actually choose yellow because of this look. I don't know what it is, I just love that look of it. And then we'll say a good deal. It's a good deal. I will now go into the battle for you, and I'll show you how this thing plays. I can't promise to give you any tokens. You're going to have to earn those all on your own, I'm afraid to say. Hello to everybody that's joining in and tuning in now to the stream. I hope you're all having a nice evening so far. Has anybody managed to... you're gonna have to earn those. Oh, I'm going to have to mute that. How was everybody getting on so far with their missions towards the bombers or the Japanese heavies? Let me know, are you going to be going for the bombers first, or are you going to be going for the Japanese heavies first? And for those that, while you're typing, don't forget to look up the announcement for the World of Warplanes birthday that's happening this weekend. You will have a chance at ×5 first win, some discounts on premium planes and normal planes, etc. Check out the announcement on there, it's pretty cool. ×5s are always welcome. One thing I will say, these things are huge. They may not seem it all the time, but you can see right here just how monumentally humongous it actually is. And I've turned the volume up on the engines this time because I love the engines on these bombers. The engine sounds on the bombers, for me, are just amazing. I love them so much. So as you can see, it's not exactly great on the speed. It's not highest on the altitude. If you go too high, you lose way too much speed, and if you go slowly, it will affect your ability to actually bomb. And you're actually going to suffer a lot to AA fire from that as well. Fairly maneuverable for the size, considering the weight and the speed you're at as well. You won't roll for anything. Try and avoid trying to roll. But your pitch, etc. is great, but you don't climb. Here's a 10-degree climb. I'm having to boost, and this is the best you're going to get out of the climb. You got lots and lots of boost, but you actually probably want to try and use your boost to maximize the spread of your bombs over the ground targets. Now, with the Fortress bombers, you need to take into a lot of consideration how you line up for your bombing run. You can't just choose when or what, like 1 or 2 bombs to drop. You're going to start releasing the bombs, and then they're just going to keep going. One of the frustrating things with the Fortress bombs, as you saw there, is that if people start taking ground targets as you line up for them, then you've just wasted your whole run, and it can get really, really frustrating. And then you've got to travel to the next sector. A lot of downtime in bombers up on there. You cannot change the colour on the bomb site. I've gone too low there. You can see where it's the yellow sign, and if you go too low, you actually start losing a lot of speed very quickly. Trying to line up this bomb run. I'm actually going to need to go to the right first, then head left, because I want to try and keep in a nice straight line with at least 2 to 3 ground targets in a line for me to run at. As you can see here again, things are stealing the ground target, so there we go. We're just going to drop where we can, and this is why you have to take into a lot of consideration what you're actually aiming at, because you will drop a bomb every second or so until they've all gone. And then we need to look at our ground targets again. We can see there's nothing for us to line up on, but we've got a nice payload left to go on there. So it's not like with other bombers where you can drop to have a pause, then drop another 2 on the next target, then another pause, and then move on. You're very much stuck to the committed drop that you've just chosen. And this is what can get frustrating if you've got a lot of ground attackers there stealing your ground targets. You really are just stuck. I'm wasting so much time here for the team that what I'm actually going to do instead is just drop that ordnance and move on. Just move on to the next sector. Of course, with the 60-second boost, I've got plenty of time to do that. And then hopefully you'll get to see the rear gunners in action. So bottom one for now. And then of course, and that's where I was mentioning I want to try and keep my rear gunners alive, because you can see just how quickly they go down to fire from things like heavies, etc. This is the downside to the 80-second reload time. Of course, you've got so much downtime with this thing as you're reloading those bombs. And it can get very frustrating if you have even just a multi-roll. A multi-roll that dives down and takes that first or second target from you as you're running, as you're starting your drop, can absolutely make your whole approach worthless. So again, like I've said before, and I'll say it again, you've really got to pay attention. You've really got to focus on how you're going to drop, what targets you're going to go for. So I'm going to aim for these 2. And then I will look at that top right part of the sector. So going to start dropping now. Hopefully you'll get to see just how potent the bombs are. There you go. So you actually didn't need as many bombs as we did drop on there. And again, we're not going to get a decent run on any targets. So instead of running around in circles trying to force it, we'll just move on. Hi Q, how are you doing? Now, based on the damage, based on the damage I'm taking, this feels very much like a tier 6 game. If you go that low, Bangash, you are going to lose a lot of speed. A lot of speed. It's not worth it at all. So, unfortunately, we're left kind of stuck in the only thing that we could have done differently in this game is to actually rush to the enemy sectors at the back of the map and hang around there, because we're currently having a lot of competition for ground targets with a player and a ground attacker. There's a person in a PE2. There's 2 bow fighters. There was a multi-role shooting ground targets as well. I've already given it a try, Bangash. You've got to bear in mind, I've played these bombers a lot on the super test. I've tried it at 1,000 meters and even lower. You will actually bleed way too much speed. It's not worth it. There are front guns on this one. In particular, there's quite a few for a bomber. Lots of different angles. Then you've got one on the top, one on each dorsal side, and then one on the bottom. You'll see in the next one that there's actually a nice array on there. And there's where I was talking about that downtime on the bombs again. We've managed to get from our spawn to this enemy sector and still not have the bombs reloaded in time. But it does give us a chance to get get using the huge amount of rear gunners that we have. Slowly roll and go around. And then try and boost up over again.
There's a heavy storm here. Unable to proceed. Returning to base. Do you copy?
And there's the danger. We had to evade the fire, and once again, we didn't get to do a whole lot. I will say, in quieter games, you do get to do a lot more in the American bombers. But for busy games, and especially with something like a military base in the middle, you are really left just picking up scraps all game and not having to have a good impact. This is the standard bomb site you now have, Q. They changed it for these types of bombers. So that you can see the spread going from side to side. Yes, but the bombers that you've played normally are very different to these. These have a low altitude ceiling and a low altitude floor. They are designed not to go so low because you will spend it at lower than 300 kilometers an hour. Something this size going slower than 300 kilometers an hour and slower than 200, you are going to get absolutely decimated by AA. Not let alone you're going to be picked up by ground attackers, you're going to be picked up by air defense aircraft of all altitudes. When you're this big, you are going to lose your hit points very quickly. It is not worth it to drop down that low on altitude.
Air supremacy achieved.
But at least you get to hear the sound. Doesn't sound that great from the front. But there. That noise. I love that noise. Now, for me, the tier 5's okay. The tier 5 can be fun. But for me, my favorite, I have to say, is the tier 6. I love the tier 6. So, just going to quickly get back to the hangar as quick as we can. I've played a couple of Japanese heavies, but yeah. I love the 57mm on the Japanese heavies. So we're going to take the tier 6 when I finally learn to click on the right one. Now, some of the things that the tier 6 has over an advantage. Hello, Navy. How are you doing? Yeah, the bombers can be a lot of fun. Now, this one plays very different to the tier 5. The main reason being is because you've got not only just the normal front gunners there, but you've got this front gun pod there. You've got a turreted rear gunner there. You've got another top rear gunner. You've got rear gunners on the dorsal side. You've got a turreted bottom rear gunner this time. And then you've got another rear gunner on the back. This thing is literally, quite literally, strapped with essentially the firepower of 3 kind of tier 6 MG planes. And it's a bomber. It is absolutely armed to the teeth in terms of rear gunners. For this one, I will. It's a very similar loadout to the tier 5, except of course you've got a lot more rear gunners. You've got the 16 or the 8 500-pound loadout. You do have a lot more hit points to the tier 5. I've gone with a very similar loadout, but what I will actually go is with aiming speed increase because of the amount of rear gunners. You actually want them to aim a lot faster. Otherwise, the consumables are the same. Reduction of this, keep your engines up in the sky, keep you going faster, help your ordnance do the job. And then the crew skills, again, demolition expert is important, protection expert, and then something to sort out your fires. And for this one, defensive fire and aiming time. For their typical 5 crew skills, defensive fire is really important on these things. As I said, you are huge. Now, for this one, I'm not a big fan of the special camouflage. It kind of reminds me of a dodgy banana split type of color. The fireworks are just something fun. And goodbye, Buck. Thank you very much for joining. Just catching up on chat again very quickly. So with the rear gunners, the reason that you see them checked is because they're equipped. The way it's set out is that this is actually a different rear gun. This is a different rear gun. This is a different rear gun. And in terms of modules and damage module, this can be taken out, but all of these will still be going and still be firing. So I've got that one. I've got that one. That was it. I was going for paint shop. Now, the summer one is okay. It'll do. I do like the winter one. Nice and bright and almost shiny. Desert's not anything special. Very traditional. And then the navy is fairly boring as well. I do like this colour. It's... I can't think of the word, but for me, it's very iconic and historic. Once again, going with the yellows, I believe. Oh, no. It wasn't yellows. It was this one. I do like this colour. That one a little bit. Not keen on that one. So we'll go with a dark blue this time. And rubber-dub-dub. Get some rubber-dub-dub. Okay, so what you'll notice on this one is with your increased speed, you're actually going to be able to... get a little bit more fun on there. Well, you see, Alper, when you're talking, it helps to actually talk through builds, and people want to know why you've chosen certain things. Yes, it does remind me of a watermelon, or yeah, it's not that pretty. The extension, I think it's 3 tokens to extend the operational order by 24 hours. I do think that if you focus on something, it's not too bad, actually. I was able to get 6 or 7 missions done in an hour or so. So if you commit to it, you will be able to play through them. Let me... very similar look. It's a very similar size to the B-17. But... you will see when we get stuck into this battle, the amount of rear gunners that you have on this is so much damage from your rear gunners. It is absolutely insane.
Pilots, get ready for action.
It is a B-17, but even by those standards, I mean... I love those. It's something about, I think it's when you watch Memphis Belle as a kid. I just love that rear gunner ball there. And then of course this nice rotating, quite a decent angle of fire on that one. This one's a little bit fixed. He can go to town, and then this forward gunner has got absolutely insane amount of damage that he can do. Okay, so we're actually going to skip that one. We're going to skip that one. And what we'll do is we'll actually go for these 3. And if we can keep up our speed. 1, 2. And then we're going to start boosting to actually try and stretch these last 2 bombs onto that next target. We'll see if we succeeded. No, we rotated a little bit too much. We didn't line up properly. So if we'd have gone a little bit faster and in a straighter line, we would have actually managed to do that. You're more than welcome to play for the ladder, Horkan. This is mostly that I can stream this. It can get saved as a video on demand. It'll be on YouTube for people to watch it later if they want to. People like myself will have the stream open, and we will be playing in the background. We're going to line up again with our next lot, just because I know I can take this. If I start dropping onto this target, hit that middle one, and get lots and lots of points up. 3, and then I'm going to try and swing that last 2 onto that target, and we'll see if that one worked as well. There we go. Just enough. The turret arcs. Okay, yep, I can do that. So here is the top one. You see on there. And you can see where you literally have the 360, because when you move from one rear gunner, the next one takes over. They have absolutely phenomenal overlapping field of fire. It takes a lot to actually not have to get into a position where you're not going to get shot by this rear gunner. So what we'll do is we'll go and pick a fight with something. Hopefully it'll come back for us, and we can show you just how much fun there is to be had with the rear gunners. Unfortunately, he doesn't want to play. Oh no, there we go. At 700 meters range, and you start getting closer. There's the front gun firing. There's the top turret firing. And let's see if we can't get into a little bit more of a dogfight for that one. Nothing wants to shoot us right now, which is a little bit odd. 700 meters by default. Yes, this is the B-17G, the tier 6 one. Let's see. I can't stretch this one. Oh no, there's the heavy that's coming up for a poke. He's going to regret this when. I'm not going to be able to stretch those last two in enough time. What we're going to do is we're going to actually turn around into the next sector. And then try and get the next ones. Yeah, I mean, 700 meters is pretty generous. I don't feel that you need more range. And as you can see there with the high altitude artillery AA guns, you see how much hit points they took off, even though I was traveling fairly fast. You really can't afford to be hanging around or slowing down when you're above that many guns. Okay. Unfortunately, the 410 did a good job of rotating there, and that's where what I would normally have done is just carried on forward and let my rear gunners aim manually themselves. They only have one military base left. We'll drop the bombs on this next one and go straight for the next sector. I'm not sure what you mean by that one rune. My record so far with the fortress bombers is to actually be shooting at 3 aerial targets at the same time. That was pretty effective. Now, granted, those were bots, I believe, on the super test server. If you're going to be against a specialized 410 with a pilot, with a really good pilot and somebody that has really good equipment on there, you're really going to suffer. We're going to win this game anyway, so I will now show you just how badly these things lose speed when you get below their altitude. So already we're at altitudes that you start losing a lot of speed and you bleed a lot of energy way too quickly. So we'll level out. And you can see just how quickly you drop now. The weakest points of the B-17 is to, believe it or not, the thing you can do against the B-17 is commit. Just absolutely commit. Try and minimize the angle you're at. Don't be going around in circles trying to choose a better angle. Just go in a straight line as quick as you can to reduce the amount of aiming time and commit to your line of attack so as the gunners can't just all get onto you and overlapping fire. You can see just how bad the accuracy at this is altitude, and you can also see just how much those AA guns are now starting to hurt. And when you're this slow, you're stretching your bomb load over 2 targets instead of 3 because you're this low. 250. For me, it's just really not worth it. What you're essentially doing is going to somebody at this altitude and saying, here's a free XP pinata, go for it. You can have the turret range increase on this thing. But I wouldn't suggest it. This one's actually pretty good for a Lang medal. You just kind of need a map without a military base that will constantly steal your ground targets. But you can see now where I'm actually having to boost at this low altitude just to be at the cruising speed I was in my optimum altitude. It's really not worth it. You're better off being at your optimum altitude because this thing doesn't climb. They really don't climb. We still came top of the team. That's not bad. And then the next one, which I'm sure a lot of you will be waiting for, is the B-32 bomber. Hello, Jazz. How are you doing? Now, bearing in mind, even though these are elite, they've got basic equipment on there. I've not enhanced them. I've not upgraded any of the equipment with any of the bonuses. I can tell you when this thing is fully spec'd with AA reduction, etc., it is very, very mean. So the next one is the B-32, and this is hands down the biggest aircraft in the game. This thing is absolutely ginormous. You can't actually fit it on your screen for the most part. I think this is the closest you can get there, but then you can't see anything. And this one, sorry, I keep going to service instead of that. You have a reduced number of rear gunners, but your rear gunners are mostly turreted. So you have one on the top, one on the back. You can't see it, but this one deploys underneath it. This one deploys underneath it. You have one on the backwards, and then you have one on the front. There, all 12.7s. They will do immense damage if you let them. The exact same loadout in terms of what I'm choosing to go on there. I'm gonna choose my aiming speed. Try and get rid of the fire as much as you can. Keep your engines going. Standard belt, just universal belt to increase the damage your rig gunners do. Improve your bombs, and then just keep it as it is. Then paint shop. Now I do love this parade camo, this special camouflage you get from the mission. I think it's very, very sexy. I like it at all. The B-29s and B-50s don't fit in line with the Fortress bombers. They are a very different bombing concept to the B-17s, so those will maybe come in another line if they do come. The summer camouflage is it's fairly boring, but there you go. Then you got the winter. Simple, but I like the clean look for it. Then you've got the desert. I do like this because it's got a little bit of a more shiny tint to it, and I love shiny, even though maybe the colours aren't as good. And then universal. For nose, I loved this one because I felt it went really well with the marine. Different one. Let's go very rowdy. This thing is extremely rowdy. For pilot skills, demolition expert, protection expert, and I went with put up different amount of points on this pilot this time, just so as I could start experimenting a little bit more, such as this one. But I want to show you just how vicious these rear gunners can really get. If I go with pure DPS rear gunner build, I'll show you just how much damage they do. Jazz, once you've got one of the bombers, you will actually find it will help you do the missions for the other bombers. I do like the bombs. I think they're new. There's something different, and they can be extremely effective and you can do a lot of carrying if you're not focused. If you're allowed to just do your thing in the game, they have a huge amount of carry potential. And like somebody says, with the bomber flights, can you imagine having 2 of these with the overlapping field of fire on the rear gunners? You know, you have 2 of you together with DPS builds and your rear gunners, nothing is going to want to come near you. They're going to have a bad day. Navy, if we've got time, I'll show it because I've got to go through the 3 Japanese heavies as well. But if you miss it, don't worry. There will be a video on demand of it as well, so you can watch it later. Yes, I have seen and I have played the XB36F. So do you mean the defensive fire skill, Heldon? Hello, Sasha. How are you doing?
Hit the enemy, and we shall win.
I hope you can understand the scale of the bomber as well in the game. You kind of don't get the look of it that you do in the hangar, but when you're in the battle, such as this, you really do get to see. It's just absolutely mind-blowingly large. And yeah, that's a lot of bombs, as you can see. Dropping 20 bombs at a time, you're going to be delivering a lot of freedom. And it may just be psychological, but I do feel that the engine sounds are a little bit sexier on this than the B-17s. So the shield defense one actually reduces the damage you take from targets that are being shot at by rear gunners. Now, bearing in mind, when you've got rear gunners that fire 360 degrees in all directions, that's a lot of protection from things. Oh, we need to start boosting. 20 bombs of freedom. And this is where this really does start paying. And that you can just start dropping and then slowly work your way through the sector and cause absolutely insane amount of damage. The problem is, of course, you're huge, so those guns really do start kicking you in the teeth very quickly. You don't need certain planes. Of course, some will help you more than others, especially the turret damage missions, but I wouldn't worry about it. You can buy all 6 operation orders. Q, you just can't have more than 1 active at a time, like before. But worry not, if you do accidentally do it, you can rebuy the order. And you do get a warning if to tell you you're going to lose it if you activate this. Oh, no, I need to get out of this so you can see all the gunners firing. Repair the gun. But to be honest, this plane is one of the few where I've actually attempted to take a first aid kit, just so as I could keep my my rear gunners constantly firing. Because if you have one down, you do open up a huge gap in your overlapping firing arcs. These are 500-pound bombs. 20 500-pound bombs, Graham. While my bombs reload, what we're actually going to do is we're going to say hello to the other bombers. When I can see them. There we go. For some reason my gunners aren't firing at them. I'm not sure why not yet, but we'll hopefully we'll find out in a minute. Big enough to ram a bomber and survive it. As you can see here, even though, you know, it is heavy, you can see the damage of those rear gunners really starting to kick in. Unfortunately, we are losing. But yeah, that was one of the new Japanese heavies, and you really do start to feel that 57mm very, very quickly. You have to buy them, Helden. Oh, that's unfortunate, Orsox. That really does suck. Yep, the thing with the Fortress Bombers in particular, you are really not able to turn enough to evade those heavy fire. This is a full yaw. This is the roll. They are not acrobatic in the least.
Step it up. We're losing the battle.
I don't think we're going to get the chance to go on that one. I'm a little bit surprised we lost that one so effectively, but there you go.
Attention, all aircraft. Fall back and regroup.
Yes, the B-32 is not something you go for agility and lots of fast turning, etc. So those were the Fortress Bombers. Yes, so you can buy all of the orders now, Navy, and not touch them until the very last day of the event, which I believe to be December the 5th. You could activate all, like one of them on December the 4th, finish it, activate the next, finish it, and so on. So those are the bombers. They can be strong, but as you can see, they're not overpowered. It is possible to take them out effectively if you make the right run at them, etc. Now, the planes I'm most looking forward to. I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody loves themselves a Fortress Bomber, but for me, these Japanese heavies were the ones that excite me the most. This one does only have the 37mm and the 20mm cannon on there. You can switch this out on the stock configuration to actually have two 12.7s as well, but I'd like big cannons doing lots of big damage. Just going to double check I left it on specialist. Yes, we did, and we'll go into the battle on this one. Okay, Graham, thank you for dropping by. I hope you have a nice rest of your day at work. Okay, so Navy, what I would actually suggest you do is focus on earning yourself a lot of tokens before you activate an order, because you want to make sure you've got enough tokens to extend it if you need to. Apologies, I tried to warn some people that I'm ill, so I'll be coughing and snuffling. I've tried to keep a lot of it under control, but we'll see. So the thing is, Theo, I'm happy to play jets normally, but right now I'm showcasing brand new aircraft that were introduced into the game today. I just realized I didn't do the paint schemes on this thing. I do apologize. The thing is, Navy, you don't need to do daily missions. If you can get the epic medals every day, there are 10 tokens there. If you can get an ace medal, winged legend, thunder, etc., that's 4 tokens just right there. These things, granted, they do seem really agile, but of course I have just been flying giant bathtubs of doom. So these things will seem highly maneuverable in comparison. The tier 5 is okay. It's not my favourite though. When I learn to aim and don't get overconfident and then stop firing at something. You see the joy of being absolutely brutalized by AA, because I went into the sector alone though. And there's that huge amount of firepower that you get on these Japanese heavies. If you can land the hits, yeah, you're not gonna go wrong with them.
We've captured the enemy military base. Things should get easier now.
And there you go. Solo capture sector. Not an easy sector to capture on your own either. They do dive. I love the dive speed on the Japanese heavies. The climbing's not fantastic, but the speed that they can pick up in a dive is... I think it's going to throw a lot of people off into face planting into the floor a lot. You have to be very careful just how quickly you pick up speed in these things. Sorry, I can't really see chat too well right now. I'm having to focus on playing, but the microphone arm kind of sits in the way of the chat.
The enemy is launching rockets at us from the military base. Take action.
Oh, on the super tests, so this press account has a lot of free XP available. So don't judge on that one. I think I've got about 200,000 on my main account. Don't get me wrong, I would prefer to be playing on my main account right now to be unlocking these planes, but I wanted to make sure everybody could see what the planes played and looked like. So yeah, for those that are worried they don't have the tokens or can't do the event, absolutely don't worry about it. They will be added to the tech tree at a later time so you can grind them normally. This is purely just an event to get early access, you know, give people something to do, get a nice nice extra camouflage, etc. Oh, the blue box is a window or frame that was to be used with a joystick camera, etc. Unfortunately, one of the issues that we had today involved a lot of setup time, and my poor producer spent a lot of it being frustrated and tempted to throw petrol and fire onto the computer and machines. Just trying to get out of range of these aircraft. 2 hit points. It's one more than you need. And there's this... I still get thrown off just how quickly these things pick up speed in a dive. I'm always scared of that because of my experience with things like the XF90. I think I'm going to get punished for this one now. Yeah. Oh no, I was about to say, I'm worried why we haven't captured the other military base now. But we did just then. It's very odd not to capture the other one if you're managing to hold out on the north one solo, because the north one tends to be the most difficult, as not a lot of bots tend to try and go there to capture. The climb rate I've set up mine is that you get a stronger boost, sacrificing for boost duration. I found a long boost that isn't great, doesn't really help heavy fighters that much. I much prefer something that can climb and get out of trouble much faster than getting into trouble with that dive speed. Okay, it's fairly quiet. We're going to be winning this one. So you can see now just how quickly you gain that speed. At tier 5, that's pretty good. The energy retention, though, not that great. As soon as you start turning, you do tend to bleed a lot of that speed very quickly. So, yep, there you go. Reminds me a lot of the BF-110. There's that larger 37mm hidden underneath the fuselage.
Receiving reports about rapidly
And there it is. There's the win.
support will be unable to reach you.
Now the next plane is kind of where, for me, the Japanese heavies do get a little bit more fun. I believe at tier 6, this is the earliest you can get a 57mm cannon in the game. There are no rewards for completing each stage of the missions, etc. Ah, thank you, Dimitri. So for the paint schemes. So this is the standard one that you get, the special camouflage that you get from the thing. I've never been a big fan of these. I'm not saying that they're bad, but personally, I don't think these are anything special. Maybe it's because I got spoiled and have so many of them that are like this. Of course, you've then got the typical cracked mud Japanese style of design for summer. Then the winter one, I do like this one. I really do like that one. Pretty bog standard dirty peach colour. And then the marine, again, pretty bog standard. I do prefer the universal look for a lot of these camouflages. I do tend to like a lot of the universal Japanese paint schemes. But for this one, just because I know that it tends to want to go to the summer, if I show you this, I love the little red accents that you can pick up with the white, etc. I think it makes it look absolutely phenomenal. So there was the tier 5. Now the tier 6. So here's the tier 6 paint scheme. Again, not a huge fan of it, but I'm not saying it's bad. It's just, it's not my cup of tea. I like shiny, and that's not it. Summer doesn't walk away too much from it. Winter, I don't know why. I'm not as big a fan of it on this one than I am on the tier 5. And then, of course, this one for the for desert. I'm not sure why you just get that on the engine cowlings at the back, but you do. And marine is okay, and of course, universal just loses that that white stripe. The nose art, I don't think it really matters too much what you choose. Not a big fan of the paint schemes on this one. And just checking on that one. Yeah, okay, chat's okay. Upgrades. So we'll go with stock first. Not a whole lot in terms of what you need to do to get the top configuration on this, but those engines really do make a big difference as you go up there. Rear gunner, I wouldn't worry about too much. These just give you a basic damage buff over the previous one. It's kind of just an all-around increase. But this is the thing that excites me the most on this aircraft, is going up from the 37 to the 57mm. Yes, it's a shotgun 57mm cannon, but 57mm is no joke, especially at tier 6. You underestimate this and you're going to pay for it. The bombs, they're not the best, but they're not the worst. They're very typical in Japanese and high damage. They'll do the trick if you drop them on a ground target, but I feel that the limited climb potential that you have in this, I very much want to focus on not worrying about having to bomb things too much. I want to increase my speed. I want to actually try and reduce the damage that it takes, etc., but increase the amount of acceleration I get from boosting. Increasing my rate of fire, and then mitigating the accuracy reduction I have from this by taking the gun sights. Standard consumable layout for me: put out the fires, fix your wings or tail, fix your engine, bit of engine boost, and the ammo belt that you might need. For crew skills, maximum 1 and 2 always pays off with something that requires a lot of firepower with your guns. Defensive fire and aiming time when you're not wanting to do DPS but you want to focus on protecting your aircraft. Yep, Q, the B-32 is hands down the biggest aircraft in the game right now. that like a lot of it was a contest in things like, oh, the Fuckable 57 is pretty big, or the XP 58. No, now it's just B32. No questions. I'm just having a quick refresh on the Facebook chat to make sure it hasn't frozen for me. Nobody said anything in a while, but I never trust it these days. Pretty big, or the XP 58. No, now it's just B32. Breeze. We'll see about the Focke-Wulf 200. Has anybody managed to get themselves through the missions yet? I know a couple of people have managed to earn a, well, skip / earn a couple of bombers. So this is, it kind of moves away from the B10 heavy look and looks like very much like a cross between a Mosquito and a BF-110 for me. The guns are very, very focused in the center, so you're going to get quite a lot of good accuracy from there. It does climb a little bit better, especially when you're boosting. You're not going to be able to climb at 50 degrees reliably, but 20 to 30 and you're actually okay. Your boost is strong enough to keep you going and gaining energy while you're climbing this sharply. Avoid the mining plant. Absolutely pointless for us when we haven't got bombs on there. And then we're going to go visit the airfield and see what we can pick up. I'm worried that I haven't spotted any aircraft yet. Oh no, I was about saying that this thing hasn't moved. I'm hoping I didn't make the mistake going to this airfield and nothing being there. Okay. Let's boost right back up again and make things follow us to come back at us. One thing I will say, with the potential for these Japanese heavies to gain speed in a dive, it does mean that you may actually be able to play these things more traditional boom and zoom than a lot of the current heavies, purely because once you stall, which I will show you now, your ability to gain speed once you are in that flopping around helplessly position, as soon as you point your nose down, you will actually gain a lot of speed quickly. There we go. And for a lot of aircraft, it takes a lot longer to get that that directional energy back to be able to point down at your enemy. These things don't suffer from that much at all. The only thing you've got to be careful of is, of course, not burning too much energy, because your boost takes a while to cool down. And there's that yo-yo action that you get from traditional booming and zooming, using the energy you pick up in the dive to try and carry you out through the exit of the engagement. And this is why I was so I was so excited for these aircraft with that 57mm. Never mess around with 57mm. Okay, we've got both airfields. Let's have a look at the mining plant. Yeah, the tokens are very much for, I think, for events like these, being able to skip those frustrating missions, having a stockpile of tokens is absolutely amazing. Let's have a look. Okay, the F4U is going to be dangerous. That is definitely going to be the German Spitfire is probably one of the few things that can counter this extremely effectively, this altitude. As mentioned, Navy, focus on earning those epic medals. Just your first epic medal of every day. You would be surprised at how quickly those tokens start actually rolling in. Oh, missing that 57mm. That was terrible. With my ground attackers, I'll usually earn quite a nice chunk of tokens every day. Yeah, I can need to help my teammate. He's going to be in range to shoot me in a short while. Yeah, there we go. No. Don't know if I've got enough space to turn around like this. Think we're going to burn down on this one now. We are, unfortunately. But we managed to take one of the two out, so that's okay. We're going to spawn at the north airfield, just because I can see a lot of enemies on here that we can pick up to try and capture that mining plant, which we're really going to need. Hello, Gore. How are you doing, Gore? Yeah, you can get a lot of medals, I would say, tier 6 to tier 7. A good tier 4 will do the trick as well, but tier 6 and tier 7, I feel, is where planes tend to get strong enough, and you don't tend to have as much in way of... well, you tend to have learned more of the game to be able to earn those medals more effectively and more efficiently. Okay, let's have a look. I can see you flailing by. One thing I will say is that I very much need to practice and learn to aim with the 57s on the Japanese aircraft. Yeah, the I can tell you 261 aircraft. Oh, on my main account, I think I've got 265 now. Things get very slow. Well, that's what I was what we've been talking about, Navy, is the epic medals. So the medals, when you go into your service profile under epic, if you hover over them, some of them, when you earn them for the first time each day, you can get a token for them. There is actually a lot of optimization coding going to be happening in the coming months, not just in-game, but the hangar as well. We're not going to commit to that one. We're actually going to focus on taking out this guy, so as he doesn't capture this sector from us too much. And we got lucky with the cheap ram kill on that. I'm assuming we took out the wing or the tail. No, so you get tokens from daily missions by finishing all 3 parts, or you can get tokens for getting epic medals the first time of every day. The most reliable way to get tokens is actually doing the epic medal approach.
Keep it up. Victory is almost ours.
Yeah, I can see what he's trying to get us to do, which is to follow him and turn, and then he gets to turn on us. Instead, we're going to go bully his friend instead.
Victory is ours. We're waiting for your return.
Just catch up on chat, sorry. I can't tell you of anything that's coming before Christmas because plans are still not formalized properly before Christmas. But hopefully, if everything goes to plan, I know there'll be news that you will be particularly excited for that may happen in Christmas. Okay, so there was the tier 6. Once you can learn to aim with that 57, life becomes a little bit easier. But this is the one that I was really looking forward to. And the reason for this one is, similar loadout to the other one, you get the opportunity to actually install a sniping 57mm and having your closer range 20s to suit you. But anybody who's seen me play the I-260 previously knows that I like longer range guns where you can pick on your enemies before they even realize what's happening to them. Being able to pick up them off at long range really does make a big difference for you. Oh, got a nice new bug. I think that is the sky animation, but it kind of acting a lot like water. Good to know. Okay, back on track. The summer camouflage. Oh my god, this is going to be awkward. So for the summer camouflage, you have that look there, and then for the winter, very traditional to the Japanese winter. And then you've got, I do love this salmon kind of looking pink/orange on there. And then for the winter, not a fan. I would actually prefer to take this one. Nose arts, let's see. No. Yeah, let's go with that one. What I'm actually going to do before I take this plane into the next battle is to check, because I don't think it did it. Oh no, it does do it on that plane. Okay, so it's all there. I'm assuming it's to do with having to zoom out further than usual because, of course, the bombers. Let's have a look. So there's that. Does anybody want me to talk through anything else? Or go through any other actions that I set up? Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't have that book on my normal account. I'm a little bit confused why it's happening on this one. Yeah, it would explain why the hang is very slow. If you're having to swim through everything to get to the next plane, that would take a while. Hello, Albert. How are you doing today? For that one, Chief Coach, J8M's more fun. ICE 260 is more reliable, more productive, and will net you far more credits. But the J8M is hilarious fun.
Cover your allies. Hit the enemy, and we shall win.
This is where you start moving towards the larger version of the Japanese heavies. I'm glad to hear that, Albert. Pretty sizable engines on there. Just wait for that load time to kick in. Hiya, waifu. How are you doing? You see it's fairly large, but you actually start to notice more of a move towards the like a mosquito/hornet style of look, and then the large caliber undercarriage. I haven't been able to play with this aircraft too much, so we'll see if I can learn to aim with a 57mm cannon or not. And the answer is no so far. Oh no, there we go. I'm assuming I just rammed a teammate, because that was a lot of hit points and a huge crit. Navy, that can depend on your connection to the server a lot of the times. This is not Strange MK. Of course, World of Warplanes is better. Every person knows that. There we go. Needing to learn to aim with that 57mm.
Stay alert, pilots. Large enemy force spotted over the airfield.
And of course, this is the section of the map that I always have terrible FPS on. You can see a heavy kind of bullying a teammate. Oh, okay. This is a tier 8 game. That does kind of mitigate a lot of the the carrying potential I'm going to have on this. And I am terrible at aiming this 57mm so far. Nope. Oh wait, I think I've learned the lead on that one. Bit more. Okay, so it's going to be a slow velocity 57mm then. Which is odd for a sniping 57mm. I did show the American bombers, but I've got a little bit more time to show the B-17D again. Viewfinder mod. I don't know of the viewfinder mod. I'm not sure what that is, sorry. Yeah. Can't miss if they're in my face. Although we are losing this game. That's no bueno. I'm not sure what it is that's picking on my teammates, but let's go over there and have a look on there. I am worried about the state of this map right now. My team is not doing so well. So yeah, you can see just how low velocity that 57mm was just there. So it does kind of look like it's going to play very similar to the 110C6 in terms of aiming. Well, at least we captured a mining plant. That's a start. Quick little poke. It should be okay to go down to AA fire now. Just checking on Twitch chat again. Everyone's pretty quiet for now. And this will be a test, is how effective this takes down bombers. Granted, I am at a disadvantage already in having my my pilot knocked out. So good luck hitting 57mm. Okay, we've had a player quit already, unfortunately. Right, we've got both mining plants, so that's a good start. We will need to worry about that bomber that's over there. I don't want to, but I really am going to have to try and focus this guy down. Hello, Hi-Fi, how are you doing? And there's the Fokker Wolf. Yeah, that's where I was worried about. Leaving that bomber to do his thing over this sector is really going to start hurting us very quickly. I'm pretty certain. I was going to say, I was pretty certain the bomber was around here somewhere, but he's moving on. So I'm going to guess he's trying to get the Lang medal, but we'll see. absolutely terrible at hitting this 57mm so far. I'm going too fast. Focusing on the XB72 and getting picked up by that same J4M.
There's a heavy storm here. Unable to proceed. Return to base. Do you copy?
Unfortunately, if you're going to get headhunted like this, there's not a whole lot you can do. Okay, we took down one with us at the very least. So that's a good start. How not to play heavy, of course, is turn fighting with a multi-roll. But it worked out. I'll take it. Gold ticket tokens, sorry, will be available for gold at intervals that you can see on the news announcement. They are for select dates, and I can't remember them off the top of my head, but if you go to the announcement for the event, the dates and times are there. Come on, just land a solid hit. You can do this. You know how to aim. There we go. I kind of want to ignore these, but we really need them to flip this sector before I go into the next fight. Couple of seconds short. So I have time to show off the B-17. If you don't mind Navy, I will show off just a overview of each of the bombers, then I'll go into a game with the B-17D. So for waifu, see if the bug. See, the bug's not here this time. Clearly, I'm doing something wrong. So for waifu, we have the B-32, which is an absolute monstrous aircraft. Lots of turreted guns that you can see. One there, one here, one, back and front. You have standard loadout on there, sorry. But 40 bombs dropping in 20, a lot of 20 each. Plenty of 12.7 rear gunners and turreted, etc. Absolutely a huge plane. It still amazes me how big it is. For the tier 6, you have the B-17G. It's where you tend to get the B-17 at tier 5, but it has a lot more reliable self-armament. For me, this is an absolutely ridiculously armed to the teeth aircraft. You underestimate this and you're going to get punished hard for it with the amount of rear gunners that you're able to just have on target at all times. It's just 12.7s everywhere, just absolutely everywhere. Paint schemes pretty standard on there. As was shown earlier, so this is where the standard B-17, you kind of lose out a lot of the rear gunners that the tier 6 has. For me, I think the tier 6 is amazing for it. You have a little bit, it's okay at the front on the rear gunners, but it does feel a little bit lacking in comparison to the tier 6. So I'll jump into the B-17D in a game. This should be the last game that I can do. And then I'm going to have to wish you all a wonderful night and then get grinding my own aircraft. And my meds are actually starting to run out now. Okay, so this is going to go one of two ways. This will be amazing because of the reduced amount of sectors, and I should be able to just do my thing. It's also potentially going to go horribly, horribly wrong if there are a lot of other bombers and ground attackers, and I'm having to compete with them all, and of course, I'm not going to be able to drop the bombs in enough time before it's captured. Okay, so I love the sounds. I know I've said it lots, and I know I'm repeating myself, but I do love the sounds of the engines on these things. There's all the rear gunners in action now, all poking out from the aircraft with the armoured glass out of the way. Oh, time to pay attention. So this is where I said this should go fairly well, that I can probably stretch these bombs out a lot. Oh, we're losing a lot of FPS right now for some reason. I'm not sure why. We got okay. And then to the next sector, and that's where I mentioned we've got enough time to drop bombs for one sector. We're at top of the team for that, but then we've got a long haul to the next sector, and this thing isn't known for speed. One thing you can do, Navy, is to buy an Ethernet splitter. I can't remember what they're called. I think it's Ethernet port or something like that. That should actually help you get some more slots for cabling that will very much help your stability on your connection. It's really not unbalanced. These fortress bombers, if you've got people who know what they're doing and have a lot of firepower, they're going to take you out pretty easily because of just how big you are. And you're always at the risk of somebody ruining your bombing run, because if they drop the bombs at the time, you're going to suffer for it. We might have to skip through on that one, and of course, you know, it only takes one target to go down, and all of a sudden your entire amazing bombing run is just completely wasted. So I'm going to wait until we get a little bit closer. Start dropping and speed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That should be enough for all 3 targets now. Because this is where I mentioned the size of you, and those AA guns will start to do an immense amount of damage at you, and with no tail, we're really starting to suffer. Rear gunners are coming alive, tail's coming alive, and we're good to go again. So we're actually going to get a better drop out of going for these two than we are going for that north one. I'm not sure why we lost the cap sector. I didn't see any teammates over here to actually lose any capture points. Shouldn't have reset then. Yeah, Van, this thing is big, but it's not armed to the teeth like the 17G, and it's not as big as a P32. But yeah, at tier 5, having 1,500-ish health, base like this, it's not, you know, you can't underestimate it. Okay, Chief Coach, thank you very much for dropping by. Hope to see you again soon. Have fun. Well, this is where I mentioned the 17G's better, is because these are all fixed angled gunners. None of them are turreted, so they have the very, very thick gun axe on them. This is where I mentioned before as well. I was talking on Discord to people. You kind of suffer a little bit on the reload time when you take the double loadout, because of course you're meant to actually drop it on one sector and then quickly move to the other. Okay, yeah, so the thing with this one, Van the Red, is that the amount of rear gunners that you have on here, if you put the service ceiling too high, you would actually make the thing broken, because people would be stalling, and as soon as they get up to you, you know, they're going to get minced by the bazillions of MGs that you get. So let's go with 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're not going to get that dropped in time, so we'll start dropping the next lot, and then try and drop, maybe get one onto this boat as well. We'll see if it worked. Yep, there we go. Just in time to die. Glorious. So the start of the grind actually isn't a grind. These are early access events. The grind won't actually take place until the event ends and they're introduced in the tech tree. Otherwise, at the moment, you get these at tier 5, 6, and 7 operational orders and get from there. Hi, Dre, how are you doing? You've joined in just as I'm about to leave. I can't stay for much longer. I really wasn't sure if I was going to be able to stream or not with how ill I am at the minute. But the VOD will be there if people are interested in watching these bombers at play. I will warn you, the bomber gameplay wasn't that great. But at least I got to show you just how non-overpowered they are. I can hear those whistles. There's somebody shooting at me. Okay, let's do this then. Challenge accepted. It's time to assert dominance. No, you can't run away now. Boop. And there's the ram kill, and it didn't really take a scratch. Oh, there's the fire. That will hurt, though. And that's where you can see the overlapping field of fire. Fortunately, one of our gunners is dead. We might be able to take this guy out before he takes us out. We'll see. It's going to be close. No. I think we got hit by a high artillery gun at the last possible second, which means we got taken out as the squall line was there.
Bomber squadron detected. Engage them immediately. The enemy has control of all key objects.
Oh, wow. Now that's a turnaround. That's pretty impressive. I'm a little bit confused what my team are doing here, when we've suddenly lost all sectors and we're now going to lose, having had all the sectors. Utterly baffled by that one, I'm afraid. That's quite an embarrassing loss right there.
You've done what you could.
There you go. That's how it goes, unfortunately. Let's go back to the hangar. So before I do my sign off, say goodbye, etc., I just want to check if anybody needs me to show you anything else in the hangar. If you're all happy with everything that I've done so far. No objections so far. That one. Okay, so for the XB36F, I've got it here somewhere. There we go. You have this one. So there it is in all its glory. P36 with cannons under the wings. If you want information on how to unlock them, Body Bag Bert, you can check out the announcement on there. But if you go to this section and then you go to the store, when you have operational orders you can buy, they will be here, and then you get them through the missions that you need to do. There should be a lot of information on the forums right now telling you how to do it and the mission requirements, etc. But otherwise, you're good to go. Okay, so I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. I want to thank you all for joining in chat and popping in some comments, etc. I know we had a lot of technical issues and we're a bit delayed, so hopefully I can make that up for you next week when I'm better as well. I hope you enjoy the event. I hope you enjoy all the things that are happening. Don't forget to check out the announcements for the World of Warplane's birthday that's happening this weekend. So some times 5 3XPs, the XP36F is going to be available for people to win. And otherwise, I want to wish you all a wonderful evening, a wonderful night. Have an outstanding morning and afternoon wherever you're at. Have a great weekend, and I will see you in the skies. Good hunting.